Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. As Americans hit the road this Labor Day weekend, they have Kamala Harris to thank for sky-high prices, with everything we need up 3 to 10% across the board. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is looking for an escape hatch ahead of next Tuesday's ABC News presidential debate, according to Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller. We have the latest details on the September 10th Trump-Harris debate. Senator Lindsey Graham urged President Biden and Israel to take action against Iran after 6 more hostages were killed, calling Vice President Harris a wrecking ball on foreign policy. And an ex-NFL star was critical of Clemson's opening loss to Georgia on Saturday. His speculation on the lopsided loss? Clemson had too many white dudes on their football team. It's Labor Day, and we have the latest headlines for you.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Welcome and happy Labor Day. Hope you've had a good weekend so far, spending time with your family, cooking out, maybe going to the lake, playing golf, or just doing nothing. Many of you, in fact, more than a third of all Americans plan to go shopping today. A study by Numerator says that 36% of U.S. consumers anticipate taking advantage of Labor Day shopping specials. Shoppers are largely divided between online and in-store options. 36% plan to shop online only, 28% shop in-store only, and 36% will shop both online and in the stores. Labor Day shopping lists commonly feature food, 88% of celebrators, alcoholic beverages, 52%, non-alcoholic beverages, 38%, party supplies, 16%, and candy, 13%. Nearly 60% of people plan to shop at grocery stores. I hope you'll go to Ingles, my favorite market. Low prices, love the savings. While 53% will visit big box stores such as Walmart, Costco, and Target. In terms of spending, 33% of consumers plan to spend $50 to $99. 26% will spend $100 to $199, and 25% expect to spend $25 to $49. Shoppers who budget over $100 are more likely to be Generation X or baby boomers. Look, quite honestly, I never know what I'm going to spend when I walk in a store. Maybe I'm a dangerous shopper, not planning ahead. For those celebrating, popular activities include grilling out, of course. That's Peg and Jesse and Simon will be doing that, of course. 63% of Americans say they will be grilling out something today, gathering with family, friends, cooking or baking at home. Generation Z and millennials are more likely to dine out, 16% versus 10% for all people in this survey. Order food for takeout or delivery, 16% of people say they'll do that. And for those of you who will be going out for drinks, 19% say that you'll go out and have your favorite beverage with friends and family. Almost 70% of consumers will stay close to home this Labor Day weekend, while 21% will travel elsewhere. 14% will drive within 3 hours of home. 9% are still undecided about their travel plans. Well, look, you need to. It's too late unless you just head out quickly as you are listening to your favorite commentator here today. Look, whatever you do, just be safe, have fun, enjoy the day off. If you have the day off, if you don't, thank you for working. Thank you. If your job requires you to be working today, thank you for being there so that most everyone can have the day off. What is not taking a vacation, though, are the campaigns of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. In fact, traditionally today is the day that officially kicks off the campaign season. It's all hands on deck from now until November the 5th. Labor Day weekend was a busy one news-wise as well. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is looking for an escape hatch ahead of next week's ABC News presidential debate, according to Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller. He was on with Fox News yesterday. Harris's team has notably pushed to tweak the rules surrounding microphones during the debate, backtracking on formerly solidified agreements to have muted mics during the opposing candidate's speaking time. Now, her campaign stands accused of looking for a way out, according to Miller. He says they're afraid, as he was talking with Sean Duffy, guest host on Sunday Morning Futures.
Well, Sean, good morning. I think that's a great question with regard to the debate. I think that the Harris campaign is looking for an escape hatch, is looking for a way to get out of this debate. To be clear, these are the rules that the Democrats wrote. These are the rules that we had in place for the CNN debate. Everyone had agreed to the rules, at least informally, with ABC. We have a deal with ABC. ABC has a deal. ABC is with us all the way on this. But here's what I think happened. I think the Harris folks started going into debate prep, and now they realize what they're working with. They realize that they're in real trouble with Kamala Harris. They also know that President Trump is the greatest debater in modern political history. So I think they're nervous and want a way out.
According to the Trump campaign, the Harris campaign has still refused to sign off on the rules that were already agreed upon. They were agreed upon way back in the summer. Of course, that was when it would have been Trump and Biden. They were initially supposed to mirror the guidelines outlined for the CNN debate and assumed that all future debates would go by the same rules. Harris spokesperson Brian Fallon wrote on X at the end of last week, quote, "The memo sent by ABC is a draft set of rules and both campaigns need to sign off on and indicate agreement. We have not done so because we think both candidates have expressed a clear desire to have hot mics. Not clear why Trump's staff is overruling their principal, who should be capable of making up his own mind." He went on to say, "We have been asked to accede to Trump's handlers' wishes on this point for the sake of preserving the debate. We find that Trump's team stance to be weak and remain in discussions with ABC on the final rules." Miller contradicted the Harris's campaign claims, arguing that they now realize what they're working with after prepping with Harris for the face-off. And when asked if Harris's campaign has confirmed her participation in the debate, Jason Miller confirmed that Harris has not as of today.
Absolutely not. And it's mind-boggling because you would think that they'd want to debate. I mean, the American public does deserve this, but they refuse to accept the terms of the debate, which, again, everyone had already agreed to it. We'd agreed to it. ABC's agreed to it. The rules are the rules. They're not changing. But Kamala Harris and her campaign, they're afraid. Think about it for a moment, Sean. Why did they wait 39 days to even do this joint interview where Kamala Harris spoke for all of 16 minutes and 29 seconds? And then now this is day 42 that Kamala Harris has gone without doing a solo interview. This is really bizarre. I think they're afraid and they don't want to put Kamala Harris out there. And you want to know why? Because she's going to have to answer for every bit of this last 3.5 years. You can't talk about turning the page when you're the one who broke the economy, broke the border, broke the world. But that's on Kamala, and she's going to have to account for that when she's on the debate stage.
And one other thing. When asked what the strategy would be in the debate, Miller said that the Harris campaign will not want to talk policy because she's been a total failure, so she'll try to play on emotions.
So there are two parts of this. There's the overall messaging, which reminding people that they were better off with Trump. And they were. Everybody was better off with Trump. Every group in the country, even as we go into Labor Day and we see how much more expensive everything is, people were better off with President Trump. But Kamala Harris, she can talk about turning the page and this other nonsense, but she has a real record. She has a record as DA of San Francisco. She has a record as AG of California. And then she has a disastrous record as vice president, which, of course, was highlighted this past week with all the Gold Star families attacking Kamala Harris and saying, you have blood on your hands for sending our loved ones to be killed, the 13 service members that were killed in Afghanistan. Kamala Harris now has to defend that record. Here's the thing with President Trump. He's a very quick study. He knows every part of Kamala Harris's record as DA, AG, and her time as vice president. So he's going to be ready. You can't prepare for President Trump in a debate. He's the ultimate counterpuncher, and that's why he's the greatest debater that I've ever seen. You can't prepare for him. And so we're going to be ready, and we have that real simple message, how we can make life better for people immediately.
And he's probably right, because Kamala Harris can't talk about policy, doesn't want to talk about policy, because she'll lose every time. In their final time together, Miller was asked what the Trump campaign is doing for election integrity.
Well, we have a very extensive effort that we're doing with the R-S-C, and we've been fighting in battleground versus battleground to try to make sure that we have these strengthening in place. Some states, like Georgia, they went and did it themselves, which is great. Georgia did a very good job. There's actually going to be monitoring of these drop boxes, feel much more confident. Other places, we've had the courts working against us. You take a look at Arizona, for example, and the recent Supreme Court ruling said that you have to show ID to register to vote, but then you don't have to show ID to actually vote. I mean, Sean, literally, when I go to the movies and I have my AMC card, if I want to get my 10% discount or whatever it is they get, I have to show my ID to get literally to get my discount at the movie theater, but I don't have to show an ID when I go to actually vote. That's what the Democrats want. And if you wonder, people always say, why did Kamala Harris allow 20 million illegals into the country? It's to try to get to this and to have them vote. Keep in mind, Sean, that in a lot of places around the country, Democrats are pushing to allow non-citizens to actually go and vote in local elections. Well, do you really think that in all of those places they're going to say, here's your local ballot and then here's your federal ballot, and there's going to be full confidence that they don't vote in both? I don't have that confidence, but we're going to be ready for them.
And we can only hope so. Your texts are welcome, as are your comments via email, joey@joeyhudson.com. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. PhD Weight Loss wants you to know, yes, you can. You can get back to your ideal healthy weight. Yes, you can get back into sizes you thought you'd never see again. And yes, you can get rid of that harmful belly fat, all without becoming dependent on medication loaded with side effects. Hi, it's Joey Hudson here. PhD Weight Loss encourages and equips you to lose weight the healthy, natural way and keep it all for the rest of your life. Dr. Ashley Lucas, a licensed registered nutritionist, developed a solid plan that works. Trust me, I lost 30 pounds. You see, PhD Weight Loss removes the guesswork. They literally tell you exactly what to eat each day while you watch the pounds melt away. But they also teach you to think about food differently and to learn to anticipate and navigate situations that make you want to indulge. PhD coaches will teach you to believe finally that yes, you can do it. With no gimmicks or lifelong medications, finally lose the weight and keep it off. Yes, you can. Call today. PhD Weight Loss, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Glad to have you join me today. Hope you've had a wonderful weekend so far. And if you have today off, you still have some time to get out and do some things. Spend more time with the family. Maybe you're headed out to the lake or to play golf, or as I mentioned a minute ago, so many of you, over 63% of, I think it was, are headed out to shop today too. But whatever you're doing, be safe, and glad to have you spending a few minutes of your day with me. On the text line, texter, this is Faye, says, Joey, you know, Kamala is supporting killing babies even after birth. Then the next clip, Kamala is saying she thinks about her baby nieces and how the climate is so bad for them. This woman is evil to the core and has zero redeeming graces. Are Americans so dumb they can't see through her? She and Waltz will take this country to a point of no return with their socialist policies. America, can we please turn back to God? You're so right, Faye. Your comments are welcome as well. Send me a quick text. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. As I mentioned a minute ago, as Americans hit the road this Labor Day weekend, they have Kamala Harris to thank for the sky-high prices. And this is a great time, as this traditionally is the official kickoff for the campaign season. This is a great time to remind people why it's costing them more to go on their trip this weekend, why it costs them more if you're having a Labor Day cookout today, while those hamburger patties, and I hope you did go to Ingles Markets when you bought those. But even Ingles has expenses to pay, and beef is up. Ground beef, steaks, chicken, pork. Every food item you go to purchase has increased in price during the Biden/Harris administration. According to a couple of surveys that I ran across, the cost of nearly every Labor Day staple is up anywhere from 3% to 10% or more just the last year. And this is according to CBS News. With the cost of a dozen eggs up 47%, hot dogs are up nearly 10%, ground beef up 8%, and beans up 6%. And these are just a few items that CBS has scoured the country checking prices on. Americans, of course, are also feeling the pain at the pump again. The nationwide average for regular gasoline is $3.34 a gallon, which is about $1 higher than when Kamala and Joe Biden took office. So these are the things when friends and family ask you why you're voting for Donald Trump. And I get these questions asked almost daily. And people, even people that I consider or think have been conservative and Republicans in the past, they just say, well, I have trouble with his attitude and the way he's critical and the way he makes fun of people and some of his posts on Truth Social. They don't like his personality. Well, cite some of these things to them. Remind them of how life was prior to Kamala Harris. The CBS had this table that showed inflation by administration. So, for example, during the Trump administration, energy was down about 0.7% overall. During the Harris administration, it's up 40.2%. They broke it down even further. Gas during Trump dropped 6.8%. During Harris, 50.5%. Electricity, the Harris-Biden campaign or administration, up 31.7%. Kamala can also take credit for fuel oil rising 49.1% under her watch. Natural gas up 24.7% under the Harris watch. And the list goes down. Hotels. So if you're traveling this Labor Day weekend and you're staying in a hotel, expect to pay 51.2% higher under the Harris administration, as opposed to during the Trump administration, hotel rates had dropped 15.1%. You want to know why? Because Donald Trump made doing business easier. He cut regulations on his first day in office, and that first year, he went through and cut regulations that made it a lot easier to do business in our country. And that's what he'll do again. And so these are the types of things that you can share with your friends and family. Groceries. Overall groceries up 21.6% under Harris. They only rose 5.9% during the Trump administration. Some things went down. For example, a dozen eggs were down 4.8% during Trump's administration. They're up 46.8%, almost 50% higher under Kamala Harris. Breakfast cereal up 22.3%. It's harder to feed your kids. Rice, pasta, cornmeal up 19%. Dried beans, peas, lentils were down almost 2%. During Trump, they're up 23.9%. Coffee up 21%. Food at K through 12 schools up 65.5% under Kamala Harris. Do I need to keep going? You kind of get the gist, don't you? I mean, everything that we pay for, everything we buy, everything we need to live is costing us more, and in some categories, considerably more. Meanwhile, our earning power hasn't kept up. Americans' real average weekly earnings are down 3.9% under Kamala Harris. They increased 8.2% under Donald Trump. And imagine where there would be if we had reelected him and we were close to completing our second term under Donald Trump. It's not too late, though. We can return him to the White House and let him work his magic again. Let him start building the base for J.D. Vance or whoever it is to follow him. I'd love to get some feedback from you. If you have already purchased what you need for your Labor Day cookout today, was it a lot more? Or are you like some Americans who have just decided that they will forego a celebration today because they simply just can't afford it? Send me a quick text. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Love to get your feedback. And I'd love to hear what you're doing today. Peg and Jesse and Simon and I will spend some time out on the lake and spend some time with friends as well. And yes, it does hurt to have to pay what we pay for some of those things that we typically have on Labor Day. But what are you going to do? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to work hard to see that Donald Trump is elected again November the 5th. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. On our text line, Jean writes, I had to stop watching Kamala on TV when she said that she and Biden brought back businesses. How can one lie so grandly and get by with it? Sickening, she said. I'm scared of her and Obama's handlers, so many glassy-eyed voters jumping for joy, not realizing the damage from her to come. You're so right. Your comments are welcome, Gene. So are yours on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line, 71307. Email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com. Senator Lindsey Graham urged President Biden and Israel to take action against Iran after 6 more hostages were killed over the weekend, also calling Vice President Kamala Harris a wrecking ball on foreign policy. Senator Graham was on ABC's This Week. He reacted to the news that Israeli-American Hersh Goldberg Poland was among the 6 hostages whom the Israel Defense Forces reported finding brutally murdered by Hamas as Israeli forces were close to rescuing them. All indications appear that Hamas realized they were about to be rescued and brutally murdered them like savages right before Israeli Defense Forces could get to them. Here's Senator Graham.
Heartbroken, devastated, mad. John and Rachel have done everything in their power to help their son be released from captivity. After 11 months of captivity, he was murdered by Hamas. Hamas could care less about the hostages or the Palestinians. And if you want the hostages home, which we all do, you have to increase the cost to Iran. Iran is the great Satan here. Hamas is the junior partner. They're barbaric religious Nazis, Hamas. They could care less about the Palestinian people. I would urge the Biden administration and Israel to hold Iran accountable for the fate of remaining hostages and put on the target list oil refineries in Iran if the hostages are not released.
The Israeli Defense Forces confirmed all 6 hostages had been killed shortly before the arrival of the Israeli forces. Hamas terrorists seized Goldberg, Poland, 23, and 4 of the other hostages at a music festival in southern Israel on October 7th attack. Now, this music festival, Mike Gallagher and I visited back in early March when we went over to Israel on behalf of our partner, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. We visited where this music festival was taking place. They had memorials to each of the people who were either killed on site or who were taken hostage. They had photos of them, each one on a stake in the ground, indicating their name, their date of birth, where they're from. Now, in this case, this young man was a native of Berkeley, California. He lost part of his left arm to a grenade in the attack, we're told. Back in April, a Hamas-issued video showed him alive but with his left hand missing, sparking new protest in Israel. Now think about this. This young man, along with the five others that we know of, the Israeli army identified the other dead hostages as Ori Danino, 25 years old, Eden Yerushalmi, 24, Abman Sarusi, 27, and Alexander Lobanov, 33. They were also taken from the music festival as well. I mean, this music festival was just and Mike and I interviewed some of the people who were safely escaped. A young lady, Noe, that we talked with, she and her boyfriend were able to run from the music festival. They initially got in their car and started driving, realized that the roads were going to be blocked, so they jumped from their car and ran into an open field where they found a tree, and they described this tree as just being a tree in the middle of a field. They climbed in the tree. It was a very dense type tree. They climbed into it, and they hid for 8 hours. All throughout the time, hearing gunshots, hearing people screaming, hearing the Hamas terrorists walking up and down the area, calling for people, telling them that it's safe to come out now, pretending to be Israeli Defense Forces officers, and then shooting them, or in some cases, even cutting their throats, slashing them with swords as they come out. It was just horrible to think about these young people. All they were doing was having a good time. Noe also told us about, and she showed me, a video that she had that a friend of hers was taking of her, of she and her boyfriend dancing moments before the attack. And it was so eerie because in the sky behind her, you could see something coming towards them, and it turns out it was some of the Hamas terrorists as paragliders. They were paragliding in to this music festival. It's just horrible. The whole thing is, and for us to stand back and do nothing, or for Kamala Harris and some of the supporters and some of the protests that we've seen around the country to talk about how that America needs to stop supporting Israel, it's just bizarre. It's asinine to even consider that we would withdraw our support of Israel. Senator Graham accused Harris of sending a signal to terrorists in the Middle East that the United States doesn't have Israel's back when she boycotted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address before a joint session of Congress. Remember that? Remember when the Prime Minister spoke to Congress and the Vice President typically is sitting right behind him? She was not. She was out campaigning. Graham went on to say that Kamala Harris's foreign policy has been a wrecking ball.
Yeah, I think she's, she's been a senator, she's attorney general, she's now vice president. Obviously, she has some talent, but here's what I would say. On foreign policy, she's been a wrecking ball. On Israel, she sat there and listened to somebody call the Israeli government and people engaging in genocide and did nothing about it. She boycotted Bibi's speech to the Congress, sending the signal to Hamas and Iran that America really doesn't have Israel's back. She was cheerleading the withdrawal from Afghanistan. She's bragged about being the last person in the room, the dumbest decision maybe in modern history by American administration. I was in Munich when she warned the Russians not to invade Ukraine. 4 days later, they did. She's been in charge of the border in some way. I don't know what the hell she's been doing on the border, but we've got more terrorists in our country than any time in history, and fentanyl poisoning is the leading cause of death among young people in America. That's what I would hit her with. She's been a wrecking ball on foreign policy, Most incompetent administration I can remember on things that matter to the American people, your safety and your prosperity. That's what I would talk about, not her IQ. Her job performance has been lousy.
During the same interview on ABC this week, Senator Graham was asked about a reported altercation at Arlington National Cemetery. You've probably seen it in the news, where former President Trump was invited by the families of the 13 U.S. service members killed at Abbey Gate in this horrific withdrawal that was botched to participate in a wreath-laying ceremony on the 3-year anniversary of the August 26, 2021 ISIS K-bombing that happened during the Biden administration's Afghanistan withdrawal, which Kamala Harris has very proudly bragged about being the last person in the room with Joe Biden when he made this horrendous decision. Graham said that he's looking at what happened with the situation at Arlington Seminary, but said what we really need to be concerned about is why the families even had to be at the cemetery, which is a good point.
You know, I don't know. I think we need to, I'm all for looking at what happened. But you know what really is unfortunate? That these families had to go visit their fallen loved ones at Arlington due to incompetence by the Biden administration. You know, I've tried to work with President Biden to get Saudi and Arabia and Israel to reconcile. I've supported a lot of their nominees. I've known President Biden for a long time. But Vice President Harris bragged about being the last person in the room cheerleading the withdrawal of all forces that led to the death of these 13, rise in terrorism, combine that with a broken border, another 9/11's coming our way. So what I take away from this whole debate about Arlington is why they died, how they died, and the incompetency that led to their death. To the American people, we've lost deterrence. Nobody in the world is afraid of Kamala Harris. She has become, in my view, ineffective in terms of a voice for America. So if you want to avoid more dead Americans, vote for Trump.
And finally, Senator Graham was asked if Trump can possibly lose this election. Everyone agrees that it's Trump's to lose, and what he thinks Kamala Harris's strategy is.
I think the way that they're running the campaign is to draw him into insult debates, get off script, get off the issues. This poll, to me, is very encouraging. Now, in a head-to-head race, Trump is losing slightly, but on the issues, Trump, economy +8, inflation +8, border +9. My God, that's a blowout. Focus on the issues, Mr. President. Every poll says the same thing. The American people trust you with what matters the most to them: the economy, inflation, border security, and just managing the government. If I were you, my friend, I would focus on those issues laser-like, and you will win this race.
And I have to agree with Senator Lindsey Graham on that, because Donald Trump, as long as he talks about policy, he wins every time, does he not? Every time he'll win when policy is involved. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. I'm going to apologize to my Clemson fans out there. Boy, that was brutal Saturday, wasn't it? And look, I understand I'm a Carolina Gamecock, but I pull for Clemson during every game except that final game of the season when they're playing my Gamecocks. My sweet wife, Peg, is a Clemson Tiger through and through. And look, I just hate to see her go through the agony. And boy, Saturday was agony, wasn't it? And I'd love to know who made that decision. Who decided for them to open this season playing Georgia, the number one team in the nation? I was talking to some buddies about it yesterday, and one made the observation, it's probably correct, that it was probably decided years ago, because football scheduling does project out a pretty long time. But wow, Clemson, they were either going to come out the hero by beating the number one team in the nation, or they were going to be devastated, and it affects their whole season. I mean, think about the players on that team, how down they have to feel losing their first game of the season. Speaking of that too, have you seen the headlines? And it was all over the news, where Roddy White, he's a former Atlanta Falcons star, a top performer for the UAB Blazers, took a shot at Clemson Saturday afternoon. Now, honestly, I'd never heard of Roddy White. Maybe you have. But again, he got the headlines. He wrote on X, Clemson got way too many white dudes on the field on offense. This ain't them. You mean to tell me you only got one black dude out there making plays? That's a recruiting problem, he said. Now, think about that for a minute. If a white person had said they have too many black people out on the field, what kind of response would you get? And this guy is saying that they had too many white dudes on the field? Wow. Look, don't be discouraged, my dear Clemson Tigers. Dabo Swinney is a great coach. He's a great motivator of young men. Did you happen to notice that Georgia, there was a release just prior to Saturday's game, and I forget the exact number, but less than half of Georgia football players graduate school, they complete their degrees, whereas Clemson has like a 99% graduation rate. And that's what I love about the Clemson football player. Again, coming from a Carolina Gamecock here, but Dabo Swinney does a great job of teaching these young men about life, building life skills that they'll use far after their life in college football. Because most of them, this is it. Most of them, after their college career, they're out looking for a regular job. Yes, some of the standouts, like Trevor Lawrence, who just signed $1 million+ deal recently. They make big bucks, but most of them do not. Most of them have to find a regular job on that during that final game of Clemson football. And Dabo Swinney takes that very seriously, preparing these young men for life, as he should, because that's why they're there. Yes, they went there, most of them on football scholarships, and I know most of them have dreams of playing in the NFL, but it's just not going to happen for most of them. So you got to give Dabo Swinney some credit for the program, for the overall program. Yes, he wants to have winners. Everybody wants to have a winning season. But again, I question, how did they start out by playing the number one team in the nation? Wow. While we're on the subject of college too, did you happen to see the story out of Alabama where you have this multi-million-dollar, 40,000 square foot home? The story said you don't even have to have a college degree or a job. You just have to have happened to pledge Delta Zeta at the University of Alabama to live in this mansion. This came from the Wall Street Journal. That chandelier-studded house, home to 66 women, is part of a larger trend in the sorority scene, and they have the picture of this huge house, 40,000 square foot home. And according to the Wall Street Journal, this is sort of a trend. The upper echelon of sorority houses now have 8-figure price tags attached and include perks like blow-dry bars in the bathrooms, backpack storage rooms, craft rooms for making signs and emblazoned in Greek letters, and all these custom features. The houses are generally owned by the Greek organizations themselves, according to the Wall Street Journal, which have been providing housing for their members since the late 1800s, but typically not houses like these. Some of the cost isn't because of the glitz and glam, they say. One Mississippi architect notes that the requirements that the ADA comply and adhere to commercial building standards ups the cost, and the chapters see them as a key recruiting tool to get young ladies to rush the sororities. The bigger the house, the nicer the house, the easier it is to recruit these young ladies to join the sorority and let mom and dad pay the dues. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button, send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.